And away we go, episode 1262 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. It is Fat Tuesday, 2026, a.k.a. Mardi Gras Day, 2026. Also, this is the first day of the window within which NFL teams can place franchise tags and transition tags on players in the 2026 offseason. That window goes from Tuesday, February 17th to Tuesday, March 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern. This offseason are zero legitimate franchise tag or transition tag candidates for our team, the Washington Commanders, despite them having a ton of pending unrestricted free agents. And yes, that does say a lot about a lot. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, a special conversation, discussion of the state of being a Washington, D.C. area sports fan, both in terms of the teams and the media landscape, as we'll speak with Dan Steinberg, NFL managing editor for The Athletic. He worked at The Washington Post from September 2001 to July 2025. He famously wrote the revolutionary blog, the DC Sports Blog. There is so much to take in and be thinking about right now as a fan of DC area sports. Next segment with Dan will cover a lot of ground on this, the podcast that follows Washington, DC area sports so that you don't have to. And also on the show, a tribute to former Washington Redskins guard Tre Johnson off his death at the age of 54. And during that segment, will show appreciation not only for him, but for the best team of which he was a part, the 1999 NFC East-champion Redskins. Before we get to feedback, news on the Commanders coaching staff. It turns out that LSU safeties coach Jake Olson is staying at LSU and not joining the Commanders. That according to CBS NFL and college football insider Matt Zenitz on Monday night in a post on X. Also, we on Monday had the first full squad workouts of both 2026 Washington National Spring Training in West Palm Beach, Florida, and 2026 Baltimore Orioles Spring Training in Sarasota, Florida. The Nats early Monday afternoon officially announced having signed free agent lefty reliever CNL Perez to a minor league contract with an invitation to Major League Spring Training. And we on Monday morning had reports that the Nats are signing free agent reliever Drew Smith to a minor league contract. He has spent his entire MLB career with the New York Mets 2018 through 2025, but he has twice undergone UCL surgery, March 2019 and July 2024. But maybe the most significant item from Nats camp on Monday was manager Blake Butera raving about the velocity of starting pitcher Cade Cavalli. The Nats took Cavalli with the number 22 overall pick in the 2020 MLB draft out of the University of Oklahoma. Cavalli, in March 2023, underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow. He pitched briefly in the minors in the 2024 season. He struggled for AAA Rochester last season, but the Nats last August 6th announced having recalled Cavalli from AAA Rochester, and he at the major league level in the 2025 regular season of having made just one career MLB regular season start, had the following stats: 10 starts, ERA of 4.25, whip of 1.48. The whip was high, but the ERA you can work with, and as important as anything was that he stayed healthy, and now the velocity is surging. During a press conference on Monday, had this exchange with Blake Butera.
Just on the pitching front, are there any guys that have kind of stood out to you from what you've seen that their stuff looks really crisp early on, whether that's like some like extra velo or a new pitch or whatnot?
Yeah, Cade Cavalli right away. Like, this is the first one that jumps off the page to me. The velocity is higher than it was last year already. And just the body, you can tell he put a lot of work in this offseason. He's in really good shape, and just his presence on the mound, he's one that stood out, from the jump.
Yeah, outstanding to hear that about Cade Cavalli. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. From Redskin J 2099 on X on NBA All-Star Weekend, which took place over this past Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the home of the Los Angeles Clippers, the Intuit Dome in L.A. Among the festivities, the tournament-style Rising Stars Challenge on Friday night, and our Washington Wizards, they, for a second consecutive season, had at least 3 players selected for the Rising Stars roster. Last season, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, and Bub Carrington were selected to the 2025 Rising Stars roster. This season, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Tre Johnson, Johnson and Bub Carrington were selected to the 2026 Rising Stars roster, though Carrington was selected as a replacement for Sarr. The Wizards this past Thursday morning announced that Sarr is expected to be out for approximately 2 weeks due to a right hamstring strain. Anyway, writes Jay, all of the bashing of NBA All-Star Weekend is by old people. The Rising Stars Challenge on Friday night was fantastic and highly competitive. I could only see the NHL rivaling the energy that was displayed on Friday night. Thank you for that, Jay. By the way, the public address announcer at the Intuit Dome this past Friday night mistakenly called Tre Johnson Bub Carrington after a made basket by Tre Johnson. I guess all of these Wizards players look alike to the PA announcer. We during Tre Johnson's post-Rising Stars Challenge session with reporters late night on Friday night, had the following.
Did you hear them say Bub Carrington's name on the PA after you made a shot?
Oh, nah. I get that sometimes, but I feel like that's disrespectful. Because, like, Bub's not that good looking. I know, but Bub's still, like, how do you mistake me for Bub?
I know. Yeah, that is disrespectful to our guy, Tre Johnson. Here is my bottom line evaluation of 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend. The tournament-style Rising Stars Challenge on Friday night and the tournament-style All-Star Championship on Sunday evening were good. The slam dunk contest on Saturday night was bad. One of the worst slam dunk contests ever. But I, for years, have felt about NBA All-Star Weekend the way that I feel about the NFL's Pro Bowl, which has gone from a game to now these various events known as the Pro Bowl Games. I, for years, have felt about NBA All-Star Weekend the way that I feel about MLB's All-Star Game. I, for years, have felt about NBA All-Star Weekend the way that I feel about the NHL's All-Star Game, which, like the NBA All-Star Game, is no longer a singular game, but a mini tournament. The way that I feel about all of these things is as follows. They are pigs, and you can put dresses on pigs, but they're still pigs, okay? They are exhibitions, and in the cases of the NFL, NBA, and NHL, these are exhibitions that have been altered and modified and tinkered with to the point at which we barely recognize them as compared to the glory days of these exhibitions. But these are exhibitions. Exhibitions can only ever mean so much and be so good. And so I don't get that worked up about NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't get worked up about NBA All-Star Weekend like a lot of other people do, mainly because I don't care about it all that much. My biggest complaint would be that the dunk contest is a shell of what it once was because so few star players are willing to do the dunk contest, a trend that has been fueled by, yes, LeBron James. Thank you, Bron. The NBA is in such a weird place right now. On the one hand, the league is swimming in money like never before. The NBA on July 24th, 2024 announced the renewal of its partnership with the Walt Disney Company and new agreements with NBC Universal and Amazon, under which ABC/ESPN, NBC/Peacock, and Prime Video will telecast NBA games beginning with the 2025-2026 season and running through the 2035-2036 season. And these are monster deals. A reported worth of $76 billion to $77 billion over the 11 seasons. However, on the other hand, there is criticism of the NBA product like never before, especially the regular season. NBA All-Star Weekend does not matter nearly as much as the NBA's regular season, and what has happened to the NBA regular season is a problem, a big problem. The kind of thing that could cause the Walt Disney Company, NBC Universal, and Amazon to regret these media rights deals. The load management of star players in the NBA regular season, big problem. The many NBA teams, including our team, the Wizards, that are tanking, big problem, even though I 100% support what our Wizards are doing. The fact that even teams that make the NBA playoffs so often don't care about seeding, big problem. The fact that teams so often will, shall we say, take games off from playing defense, big problem. And there are other things. Personally, and I may be on an island with this take, but I do not have a problem with the style of play in the current NBA. I like the current style of play in the NBA. I like dunks and threes. I am not one of these people who fantasize about mid-range jumpers. I think that there's too much criticism of the style of play in the current NBA. But the other aforementioned issues with the league's regular season are legit. And here's something else that has annoyed me for years. Why the heck are there divisions in the NBA? Yeah, there are divisions in the NBA. Did you know that? Nobody ever talks about them. They mean basically nothing. But there are divisions in the NBA. Do you know which division the Wizards are in? They are in the Southeast Division. Yeah, the Wizards are vying for a Southeast Division title. The 6 divisions in the NBA are the Eastern Conference's Atlantic, Central, and Southeast divisions, and the Western Conference's Northwest, Pacific, and Southwest divisions. These divisions are so lacking in meaning that, get this, when you on the league's website, NBA.com, click on standings, you get taken to the standings for the conferences, not the divisions. The league's own website, NBA.com, acknowledges that the divisions are basically pointless. And nothing to me captures how the NBA regular season needs to be fixed more than the league still technically having divisions that basically mean nothing and that nobody cares about. Well, something that we do care about is your health. A great sponsor of this podcast is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink, which is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Well, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Make Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the next day. Enjoy drinks with friends. Enjoy drinks while watching the big game, and don't sacrifice your productivity for the next day. Start your night with Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol and wake up ready to show up strong at work, clear-headed, focused, and back to business. Go to zbiotics.com/Galdi and you'll get 15% off your first order when you use the promo code Galdi at checkout. Plus, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Also, subscriptions are available for maximum consistency. That's zbiotics.com/Galdi. Use the promo code Galdi at checkout for 15% off. Hey guys, present the best version of yourself via OneSkin, which is the best product for skincare. OneSkin formulas are powered by the OS1 peptide, a patented peptide built on longevity science proven to target aging at the cellular level. OneSkin supports the cellular repair that keeps your skin looking and feeling better as you get older. This is not about adding extra steps to your routine. No, this is about swapping in smarter ones. Born from over 10 years of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. And for a limited time, OneSkin is making it even easier to stay consistent with up to 30% off your first 3 subscription orders when you use the promo code Galdi at oneskin.co/Galdi. That's oneskin.co/Galdi and use the promo code Galdi. oneskin.co/Galdi, up to 30% off with the promo code Galdi. And after your purchase, you'll be asked where you heard about OneSkin. Please support our show and say that Al Galdi sent you.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast. If you're not already doing that, subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. What is the state of being a Washington, D.C. area sports fan? 3 of the 4 major pro sports teams of D.C. are coming off or are in the midst of bad seasons. The Washington Commanders are coming off an incredibly disappointing 5-12 2025 regular season, marking the franchise not making the NFL playoffs for a 26th time over the last 33 seasons. The Washington Nationals, since winning the 2019 World Series, have had 6 consecutive losing regular seasons and now are in the midst of a restarted rebuild. And the Washington Wizards are rebuilding and tanking, although this hopefully is the final season of the tank. But bigger picture, the franchise has not had at least 50 wins in an NBA regular season since the 1978-1979 regular season and has not advanced past the second round of the NBA playoffs since 79. Now, the Washington Capitals are a different story. They have made the Stanley Cup playoffs in 34 of the last 42 NHL seasons, but have advanced past the second round just 3 times, 1990, 1998, and 2018. Whether the Caps will make the playoffs this season is up in the air. Also, we have Maryland football, Maryland basketball, and Georgetown basketball all struggling to varying degrees. There are positives in D.C. area sports, but way too many of our teams are not exactly thriving right now. And then there is the state of D.C. area sports media, highlighted by the Washington Post this month, closing the newspaper sports section in its previous form. So what is the state of being a Washington, D.C. area sports fan? I am very pleased to welcome to the Al Galdi podcast for the first time Dan Steinberg, who is an NFL managing editor for The Athletic and who worked at the Washington Post from September 2001 to July 2025. Dan started at the Post as a part-time clerk, news aide, and high school sports reporter. He founded the DC Sports Blog in 2006, became a columnist in 2014, and became an editor in 2018. And he, in July 2025, joined The Athletic as an NFL managing editor. You can follow Dan on X at DC Sports Blog, as yes, his handle on X remains at DC Sports Blog. I love that. He's keeping it real, yo. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Great. How are you? When they announced me internally at The Athletic, they said that as if it was, I think they didn't know what to make of that, that this is his Twitter handle. It's still his old blog that he hasn't written for 10 years. But yeah, I guess I don't know. At first, I was not sure if you lose something if you change it, and then I just got lazy and never changed it. So,
well, I do not blame you for not changing the at DC Sports Blog handle on X. And actually, the DC Sports Blog is a good jumping off point for us. The DC Sports Blog was ahead of its time. What is the story of the DC Sports Blog, which for a lot of people is how they came to know you?
That's definitely true, and I've actually thought about it a lot in recent days. Just thinking about how the Post changed and how maybe our relationship with our audience changed. And also because the Winter Olympics was kind of part of the story. So the Winter Olympics, the last time they were in Italy, they're in Italy again right now. The last time they were in Italy was in 2006. And the Post sent me to do a blog without really having any instructions or any idea what they wanted me to do exactly. And at the point, at the time, I was covering college sports. I was covering University of Maryland football and some local college basketball, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't think I was very good at it, and I loved doing the blog because it was just go do whatever and try to help people at home, maybe who have never been to a Winter Olympics, or just to help them understand what it feels like and what's going on and give them a sense of it. And it could be writing about speed skating. It could be writing about figure skating. It could be writing about fans who are in bars late at night getting drunk. It could be writing about the Heineken house where a lot of the athletes go to hang out. It could be writing about curling. It's whatever you want it to be. And so I was writing, 6, 7, 8 times a day. I was interacting with readers very directly. I was emailing readers like crazy. We didn't have Twitter yet. It was the year before Twitter started, I think. And I was just kind of doing crazy stuff, and I loved it. And so I said, we should do this for DC sports. Just send me to the biggest event of the day. practices, radio shows, whatever. Just send me anywhere that something that fans would be interested, and let me just write about what's going on. And so blogs were kind of new then, and it seemed like they were the future. Now they're the past, but I did it, and it seemed to work. It really was like connecting with people, and it was pre-Twitter, and it was giving people kind of a way into DC sports at all hours of the day. So that's how it started, and it feels like a billion years ago that's what we were doing, and that it was like you might not know what was going on at a Wizards practice unless like you listen to like TOP or like a live 980 update, or I was like, beat writers didn't have a way to communicate with fans in real time, and so that's why it kind of worked.
It did work. And hearing you describe what the DC Sports Blog was about, that in a lot of ways was the foundation for something like Barstool Sports, which, whether you like it or not, is a great example of how new sports media can thrive, how in dealing with some of the less formal, less conventional things in sports, an outlet can make a connection with people different and more personal than traditional media outlets, which have tended to provide, the who, what, where, when, and why of standard journalism. The attachment with the consumer forged by the DC Sports Blog, the attachment with the consumer forged by Barstool, that should be the goal for current sports media outlets.
I definitely agree with you there. And I think that in some ways, I was not the perfect person for it because, I'm not like a Barstool guy exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like probably a lot of your listeners or my readers wouldn't necessarily have wanted to hang out with me. You know what I mean? I'm serious. Like, I'm not like, I think one of the things that the Barstool guys got right is so many of them have that feeling like I would love to actually sit on a barstool next to this guy and hang out with them. And I'm not sure that I had quite that. And plus I wasn't from DC. I think that part of it is like actually like really connecting with fans in a way that you can, that I probably can't because I don't have that sort of DNA about it. But I do think that is part of it. And it's why like so many of these like first person videos, like everything is video because people want to actually know and trust and feel like they're actually with the person who's giving them the information now, I think. But I think that we were onto something a little bit. And I think, not to make this about the Post, but I do think we sort of lost that a little bit in the years since, after we kind of transitioned away from doing blog stuff. I think people felt a little bit less of a personal connection to some of the writers in recent years, probably, that wasn't helpful.
For sure. And so when it comes to being a Washington, D.C. area sports fan in 2026, we have the state of our teams. We have the state of local sports media. The Washington Post sports section basically is done. We'll see what fills that void. We know that the Baltimore Banner is making inroads into the D.C. area. This is a large question, but what do you think is the future of D.C. area sports media? Like, what do you think we're looking at, say, 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think we could talk about this forever. And like, I don't know if readers are interested or your listeners are interested, but I think like you and I and like Kevin Sheehan and people like that could have this conversation for hours and hours and never get tired of it. And that doesn't mean I know the answers or the answers. I do think it's not just going to be the Banner that's coming in. I think The Athletic, for one, is obviously we're talking about how we should respond to this and whether we should use this to up our coverage. And Ted Leonsis has his Monumental Network. I'm sure that they're talking about how they could take advantage of this. Mark Ein, you probably saw, who owns the Washington City paper and he's part owner of the Orioles and the Commanders. He's had conversations with people. He even had talked to the Post apparently about buying the sports and metro department there. But there's so many questions. I don't know how you monetize it. I don't know the right way to monetize any of these things, and I don't know the right teams to cover. It's a question that we've had in this area forever. Like, how do you cover the football team versus the other teams? Do you cover it 4 times more, 5 times more? Do you just cover the football team and ignore the others? The overlap between fan bases here. I think there are great sports fans in the DC area, but it's not a one-to-one overlap where you can assume that someone who cares about the Commanders also likes the Nats and the Wizards and the Caps. It's not like a Chicago in that way. It's just different. And there's obviously plenty of people here who still care about the Orioles. There's tons and tons of DC sports fans who could not care less about the Wizards. And so there's like hard questions about which franchises you focus on. And even if you focus on more than one. I mean, I can see an argument for really just kind of niche publications that try to offer unparalleled access and expertise around one franchise and not around DC sports as a whole. That to me makes sense. I mean, one thing that the Athletic did is they sort of bundled these things together. So it's not that you're just getting DC sports, or it's not that you're just getting NFL coverage. It's that you're getting everything that you could conceivably ever want, including EPL and now beyond that with Bundesliga and, other soccer leagues and beyond that and tennis and everything. I mean, like really, really comprehensive coverage. And so that's one bundle that sort of makes sense. But I don't know that a DC sports bundle is exactly the right one. And so it seems to me like it's going to get even more specialized where you're really going to people or publications for one team.
And that's something that I wanted to get into with you. And by the way, it's funny hearing you say that you don't know how interested the people listening to this are in hearing about DC area sports media. As we know, the people who most enjoy hearing about the media are people in the media. No group of people loves hearing about itself more than our group. But something that I don't think has ever been talked about enough regarding DC area sports is that we, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, have had, yes, the erosion of the fan base of the Washington Redskins / Washington football team / Washington Commanders. But we, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, also have had this occurrence nationally of the NFL exploding in popularity, this meteoric rise of the NFL, while everything else, MLB, the NBA, the NHL, college sports, has become more niche. And this occurrence has taken effect here in the D.C. area to where now, more than ever before, locally and nationally, there's the NFL and then there's everything else. And so to your point, a D.C. area sports media outlet should not cover everything equally or close to equally the way that the outlet would have / should have 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. I mean, we at The Athletic, we do very well for things like MLB and NHL, but I think partially we do well because so many other places have retreated from that, and we smartly went into some really, really passionate fan bases for those things. The Nationals for us at the Post did really, really well during their glory years. They've done very poorly for us, I think I could say, since then, which makes sense. They have been bad and they've been uninteresting sort of a lot of that time. I think now they're kind of more interesting again. But yeah, did you see the Zabe out of left field, like the reason that the Post went out of business, the reason the Post killed their sports sections because the team's name changed? I mean, I thought that was a little bit insane, but I will say that take the name out of it. We at the Post spent years kind of documenting the decreasing interest in the football team, whether it's attendance, ticket prices, TV ratings, all of those things. And it would be insane if that didn't also impact the audience for reading about them. And so I don't think it has anything to do with the name per se, but I do think that the overall decline of interest in that franchise was a real blow to the Washington Post sports section. And I remember when I moved here in 1998, and I came from Buffalo, and Buffalo is obviously insane about the Buffalo Bills, but I was kind of blown away by the level of obsession about certain things having to do with the Redskins, and it's just not like the love affair with the NFL is to a point that it's never been before, but the local obsession with that franchise is not what it used to be.
Not to speak for my friend Steve Zabin, but I would think that the basic point that he was making was the name Redskins going away further lessened fandom for the team, and the lessening in fandom for the team is part of the lessening of people reading the Washington Post sports section before it essentially was shut down.
Of course, that's true, but I mean, just the larger point is, it's not like before they changed the name, interest in that team was peaking. Like, interest in that team had been going down and down and down for a long time. And I'm not saying that this helped, but I think that the broader thing was the trend was already happening. And what's going on with the Washington Post right now has a lot of factors, and it's not purely based on how many people are reading those stories. It's way more complicated than that.
No doubt. And you know this better than me, but a lot of the demise of the Washington Post sports section has nothing to do with the sports section. The Washington Post readership has plummeted in recent years, and the plummeting readership is based on a variety of factors, many of which have nothing to do with the sports section and have more to do with politics. And, you know, with politics these days, right, so many people get their news not from reading, but from listening to podcasts and watching videos on X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. The appetite for reading clearly is down. Is that also the case for DC area sports fans in 2026, that they're getting less of their sports news from reading than ever before?
100% there. Yeah. I mean, for sure they're getting less from reading. Like my 18-year-old daughter, who's like a big sports fan, she would never like sit down and like read an article. That's not how they like consume it. I mean, I feel like a dinosaur even saying like article, like, no. I mean, and to say nothing of the fact that every single important sports news update comes on Twitter first. It's like suicide, and we all joined this suicide pact together and agreed like, oh yeah, we'll just give everything away for free on a platform that none of us own and none of us controls. And the person who does run it is a billionaire who is extremely erratic and can change it whenever he wants to. It's like an insane information system that everyone in sports just decided, yes, Elon Musk is the person who will control all sports news. But that's what we did. And I don't know how you go back from it at this point. But yeah, it goes way beyond that to Instagram and to YouTube. And I think there is a big market of people who want to read about sports. I just think that it's hard to tap into that. Like if you don't have, I think you either have to be extremely specific and niche, or you have to be extremely comprehensive, like we are at The Athletic. And The Athletic obviously has a bundle with the New York Times, and you know, people who want to read stories probably are inclined to be New York Times subscribers to begin with. So there's like a smart overlap there. But we, even at The Athletic, we have 1 million podcasts, and they're really pushing hard into video, reporter-created video, and obviously also videos of the podcast. And we now have deals to get highlights from virtually every league, including the NFL. And it's not cheap to get NFL highlights. It was a huge investment by The Athletic because they understood that where fans are right now is like you cannot give them static 1,500 words. That's just not what people want. And if you are giving them words, they better be damn good words too. You better have something, and we're not there yet, but the goal is never write a story just to write a story. You have to give me a very good reason that you're writing this story. Either you have an interesting opinion that hasn't been expressed elsewhere, or you have news or information that has not been delivered elsewhere, or you've got like a great way of saying it, or you've got quotes that no one else has. But no one wants to read something just to read something. You got to give them a reason, and it's got to be good.
Much more with Dan Steinberg in moments, but if you are planning a wedding or you know somebody who is, check out or have that person check out cateringbyuptown.com. Catering by Uptown delivers not just delicious food of the highest quality, but also a flawless and memorable experience tailored to your special day. Catering by Uptown's team is dedicated to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. If you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Also, Catering by Uptown is great for parties. So whether a birthday, an anniversary, a retirement, or a charity gala, Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, so they are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. We're discussing the state of being a Washington, D.C. area sports fan, both in terms of the teams and the media landscape, as we speak with Dan Steinberg, NFL managing editor for The Athletic. He worked at the Washington Post from September 2001 to July 2025. The current phenomenon of the NFL and then everything else, do you see that changing anytime soon, or do you see that continuing to be the case for, say, decades to come?
I don't know. Decades are a long time. I mean, I think that 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have predicted that there were some major problems in the NFL that might have prevented this from happening, or that might have been long-term issues, like concussions, like chief among them. But somehow they seem to have like weathered that one and moved past it. And I don't know if we all just decided that we could live with it, or that the fact that they're kind of trying to take some strides there, whatever. It doesn't seem like any of the existential questions about football from 5 or 6 years ago are still lingering. Um, so it's hard for me to imagine what would interrupt it. And I think that this is not novel talk for me. I mean, this is kind of conventional wisdom, but it seems like the only thing that can come close to competing with younger people is international soccer. It's not like, I mean, obviously the NBA's got a huge fan, and baseball does well, especially with, it's like an in-person experience that is very unlike anything else. But just in terms of the like the sheer like size and like weight of it, and popularity and kind of omnipotence, I don't think anything other than soccer can come anywhere close to the NFL, and I don't know why it would change. But I mean, things do change all the time, and I would be reluctant to go too many decades into the future. But like the Super Bowl, when you see the numbers that are of people that are Super Bowl ratings down slightly this year to what? To 128 million people. It's like unbelievable. Like, what else can come close to that?
And you think about things here in the D.C. area. The Caps won the Stanley Cup in 2018. The Nats won the World Series in 2019. The Redskins in 2019 were reeling. And so there was this conversation of the Caps or Nats potentially overtaking the Skins as the number one sports team in the D.C. area. And that has not come close to happening. The NFL for decades now has been this gigantic rising tide that has lifted up all of the league's teams, even Washington, with all of its problems.
There were so many times, and like I'm an NFL editor now, so I'm like very, very buried in this stuff. But there were so many weeks this year where I was watching it, I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is why it does so well, because they have it so figured out. Like the length of the games, the parity, the superstars, the number of games that come down to crazy plays at the last minute. It's just like, it's such a good product, I think.
It's also a much easier consumption. It's 17 games. It's once a week. Following a baseball team is work. Following an NBA or NHL team is work. NFL is simple. There's a rhythm to the week. Like it doesn't require all of the time that following these other teams require. So I've always felt like that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and now they've got, I mean, obviously now Thursday night is a thing, and like, we all joked about like they're not going to rest until they get every day of the week. And I don't know if they will or if they won't, and I don't know if that would be good or bad, but like I kind of love that there's like Wednesday night and Saturday during the December and Sunday, and then you got Sunday night on NBC, and then you've got Monday. Like it's just like a part of my life in a way that no other sport can replicate.
Here's a hypothetical for you. The overall sports fan experience of today, in my opinion, is a lot better than the overall sports fan experience of yesteryear in terms of content and information, in terms of availability. But there was a charm to being a sports fan in the pre-internet age. I mean, I think about being a kid who grew up in the D.C. area in the 1980s and early 1990s, right before the internet. And I think about listening to Sports Radio 570 WTEM and listening to Sports Call with Ken Beatrice on 630 WMAL. I think about watching the local sportscasters like Glenn Brenner on WUSA 9 and George Michael on NBC4. I think about reading the Washington Post sports section at its peak. I think about so looking forward to ESPN Sports Center with Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. I think about so looking forward to ESPN's NFL Primetime with Chris Berman and Tom Jackson. On and on I could go, but you get the idea. So the simplicity of yesteryear versus the content avalanche of today. So let's call this 1993 versus 2026. Which for you is the better sports fan experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's also, for me, it's hard to separate 1993 from me being like, young, and like my life was so different. You know what I mean? Like I have nostalgia for 1993 in a way that probably colors that. I mean, my instinct is to say that I miss that I miss sort of when I first played fantasy football, you would have to wait around until NFL prime time on Sunday night to try to see like hope that they showed your guy's stats so you would have some sense of how he did before the paper came out the next morning. And it was like, can you imagine what it would be like to have a fantasy football team now and have zero idea if you won or lost until the next morning? But that's what it was like. It would drive all of us totally crazy now not to have that information. It's impossible to go back. Like if I have my phone down for 10 minutes, I start getting the shakes. It's like you can't go back to that. But like I would look forward to getting the sports section in the morning. It would be like opening a present every single morning, and it's hard to ever replicate that feeling now when you're just constantly swimming in information. I mean, we know way more now. We know way more about teams, players, athletes, everything. We know more about the salary cap. We know more about contracts. We know just more now, and it would be hard to give it up. But there was like a certain like specialness to it all back in the day, and you sort of felt like you were in a club. Like when you would listen to the same radio station as someone else, it was like something that really bonded people together. That's now with everything so diverse, it's hard to get that feeling still, I think.
Yeah, it's like the phrase "ignorance is bliss." We were more ignorant as sports fans back in the day, but there was something kind of nice about that. Something kind of because everything meant more. Everything you read, everything you watched, everything you heard meant more because there was so much less of it.
Yeah, and like you look at the old clips of like, the old RFK Stadium. Like one of the things that you notice is that everyone's not holding up their phones during the big moments, which is like, it's the same as concerts, anything, but it's like things were enjoyed more in the moment for what they were as opposed to through screens. But I mean, there's lots of good things about phones and all that stuff too. I don't know. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, it's tough. There, of course, is a tendency to over-romanticize the past and underappreciate what you have in the present. There are so many good things about being a sports fan right now, so I would say now, but I definitely have an appreciation for yesteryear. The key with yesteryear is that you didn't know what you didn't have, and so everything meant more. If you went back to the conditions of yesteryear knowing what you didn't have, yesteryear might not be so great.
And the newspaper too. I mean, it was like what got me into this career was reading the newspaper as a kid, and it was something that I would run downstairs in the morning to get the sports section. I loved reading the sports section. I don't people sure they like enjoy plenty of stuff that they read, but I feel like it doesn't create quite the same bonds.
Absolutely not. And specific to the DC area, there is a fatigue with so many of the teams having struggled for so long. I mean, I'm hopeful that the Commanders, Nats, Wizards, and Caps are all headed in positive directions, but they're with the Commanders and Wizards franchises has been losing for decades. They're with the Nats has been this hideous decade of the 2020s so far. And an under-discussed item is Maryland basketball and Georgetown basketball, each being so far from where each program was for so long. But good to talk to you. I appreciate your time.
Great. And keep up with The Athletic. I think that we might be making moves at some point that would be interesting to DC sports fans.
Outstanding. Dan Steinberg, NFL managing editor for The Athletic. He worked at the Washington Post from September 2001 to July 2025. All the best.
Of course. It's great to see you.
All right. Well, like a well-built team, a well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather shifts. Quince has the everyday essentials that I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons. The list goes on. Also, Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing. Everything is built to hold up to daily wear and still look good season after season. And Quince only partners with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. I have a Quince blue wool pullover. Looks good, keeps me warm, is durable. It's tremendous. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Hey, for all of you parents out there with teenagers, we know that you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Well, Cash App is here to help make sure that your teen's money and spending aren't adding to the craziness. Cash App is designed to meet teens aged 13 to 17 where they are with intuitive and educational tools. Available through sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, teens gain access to a personalized Cash App card that comes in different colors and patterns to fit the teen style, and the ability to instantly access money from family and friends. Cash App makes managing money feel easier and honestly just cooler than other options out there. Cash App also has tools that can help teens develop real-world financial habits in a space that's safe and easy to navigate, all with your oversight and approval. If your teen is getting a first job, Cash App can get your teen access to paychecks up to 2 days early and can help achieve personalized savings goals, all within the app. With Cash App, these tools become something your teen will actually want to use because they were designed with your teen in mind. Also, no one wants unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirements, and no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock the card right from your phone in just one tap. Skip the stress and give your teen a way to learn financial responsibility with no hidden fees. Download Cash App and get started today, and for a limited time, a new Cash App customer can earn $10. Just use the code FAMILY10 in your profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. The cliche, of course, is that death comes in threes. I don't know why that seems to be the case, that death does come in threes, but that does seem to be the case. And we in recent weeks have had 3 notable deaths of former players for the Washington Commanders franchise. So the Washington Commanders and the family of legendary former Washington Redskins quarterback and legendary former Washington Redskins radio analyst Sonny Jurgensen on February 6th jointly announced that Jurgensen had died at the age of 91. Former Washington Redskins cornerback Barry Wilburn, who played for the Skins for the 1985 through 1989 seasons, he on February 6th died in a house fire in Tennessee. He was just 62. Barry Wilburn for the 1987 regular season was number 1 in the NFL in interceptions with 9, was a key member of the Skins' 1987 Super Bowl championship team. And we this past Sunday evening, February 15th, learned that former Washington Redskins guard Tre Johnson had died at the age of just 54. Johnson's wife, Irene, in a Facebook post on Sunday evening said that Tre Johnson died during a family trip. Quote, "It is with a heavy heart that I inform you that my husband, Tre Johnson, passed away suddenly and unexpectedly during a brief family trip. His 4 children, Chloe, EJ, EZ, and Eden, extended family, friends, and I are devastated and in shock." End quote. Just awful news. The Skins took Tre Johnson with the number 31 overall pick in the 1994 NFL Draft, the second pick of the second round in the 1994 NFL Draft. The Skins took Johnson at a Temple. He played for the Skins for the 1994 through 2000 seasons, and then again in the 2002 season, he spent 7 of his 8 NFL seasons with the Skins. He played for the Cleveland Browns in the 2001 season. Johnson dealt with injuries for a good chunk of his NFL career, but he, for the 1999 Redskins, started all 16 of the team's regular season games, started both of the team's postseason games, made the Associated Press All-Pro second team for his work in the 1999 regular season, and made the Pro Bowl for his work in the 1999 regular season. We have what I define as the glory years for Washington, the 1982 through 1992 seasons. The team over the 33 seasons since its glory years, so the 1993 through 2025 seasons, has made the playoffs just 7 times. The 1999, 2005, 2007, 2012, 2012, 2015, 2020, and 2024 seasons. So the 1999 Skins were the first Washington team to make the playoffs since the glory years. The 99 Skins went 10-6 in the regular season to win the NFC East and then went 1-1 that postseason. The head coach was Norv Turner, and that 1999 Redskins offense is in the conversation for Washington's best offense since the greatest offense in franchise history, the 1991 Super Bowl champion Redskins offense. The 99 Skins featured a QB1 in Brad Johnson, who in the 99 regular season threw for 4,005 yards. The 99 Skins featured 2 receivers each with at least 1,100 receiving yards in the 99 regular season, Michael Westbrook and Albert Connell. The 99 Skins featured an RB1 in Stephen Davis, who for the 99 regular season was number 1 in the NFL in rushing touchdowns with 17 and was number 3 in the NFL in rushing yards with 1,405. The 99 Skins featured a fullback in Larry Centers, who had a team best 69 receptions. But a big part of this offense was Tre Johnson. The 99 Skins in going 1-1 in the postseason, January 8th, 2000, a 27-13 win over the Detroit Lions at FedEx Field in the wild card round, and what remains Washington's only playoff win at the stadium that today is known as Northwest Stadium, and opened in September 1997. That is incredible, right? One postseason win for Washington at that stadium. And then January 15th, 2000, a heartbreaking 14-13 loss at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round. Tre Johnson, after his playing career, became a history teacher at Landon School in Bethesda, Maryland. So he continued to make a positive impact with his life. All the best to his family. Rest in peace, Tre Johnson. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Wednesday show, episode 1263. We'll include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday show, I'll talk college basketball. Virginia Tech is at Miami Tuesday night at 8. George Washington is at VCU Tuesday night at 8. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Did you hear them say Bub Carrington's name on the PA after you made a shot?
Oh, nah. I get that sometimes, but I feel like that's disrespectful. Because, like, Bub's not that good looking. I know, but Bub's still, like, how do you mistake me for Bub?
I know.